start with this Raiders signing because I find myself every time I do interviews with people being asked about Pete Carroll's age. For you as a free agent that signed with the Raiders, was there a consideration or a conversation? How does Pete Carroll's age come into the mindset of you and this team?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me on the show. This is awesome. It's a crack of dawn right now, and my kids are up watching Minions, so I had to come on this show and do what it do. So I want to say thank you guys for allowing me to be on here. But going on to Pete, when I signed and I got the opportunity to chat with Pete and everything like that, man, he was I've heard so many things, so many great things about him. Just playing against him all those years, San Fran and Seattle battles. And when I had the opportunity to talk to him this past offseason about, potentially signing with the Raiders, the first thing he mentioned to me was like, man, you ran against me all those years, ran hard. Why don't you run for me? And I was like, man, you know what? I'm all in. I'm bought in on this guy now. So his age, man, it just shows you not only what he's still capable of doing and becoming as a head coach, but his leadership, his guidance, and everything that he does off the field and trying to get the guys right mentally to be prepared on the field. It's just a credit to him and his success.
And I think the word culture sometimes gets overused by people that do what we do, but there is an important element of locker room culture, of camaraderie that I think is essential for winning at the highest level in the NFL. What has Pete Carroll done for the culture in Vegas?
Yeah, one of the things that I mean, the very first meeting we ever had as a team, going into OTAs and off-season workouts, he wanted to make sure that it was known that we're just going to compete. That was a central theme of everything that we do is competing. And put lining up, putting everybody in position in order to do what they have to do and to be successful. That was his main thing was like, you're going to come in here, you're going to have your shot, you're going to get an opportunity. And we don't want to hold that against you. We want you to be who you are as a player. Don't step out of your comfort zone. Don't step out of your character and try to do something or make something up. We want you to be you and we want you to compete. And that was the first message that he presented to all of us. And, that, like I said, it just goes to a credit to a guy like him, who's been doing it for so many years and has won Super Bowls and national championships in college, right? It's just a testament to his true ability of being a head coach.
And I do feel like there are two kind of different philosophies as an NFL head coaches. And of course, every organization is different. Every individual is different. Every coach is different. But there are some organizations that choose to hire like the young and up and coming coach. And then there are some organizations that go with a more well established coach, kind of, the old heads in the NFL. What have you
Mhm.
seen that's the difference maybe between how two different teams are run, kind of the young up and comers versus the more established head coaches?
Yeah, when you have, the established head coach that has been there, done that, he has a formula, he has a plan, he has a knack for winning, and he understands the severity of wins and losses, right? And he's a competitor. That's the difference between a younger and an older coach. A younger coach, he has to still figure out how to navigate through the NFL, how to take wins and take losses all in the same category, right? And how to separate themselves and trying to bring their own uniqueness. But when you have somebody like Pete, he has an established identity. He knows what he wants. He knows how to get there. It makes everything a lot easier. And on top of that, it makes everybody in the building want to do their job that much more, and take accountability for themselves.
Raheem, let me talk to you for a second, just as a Raiders fan. All right, I'm gonna put my Raiders fan hat on. And I think one of the
Yep.
craziest things about life sometimes is that, like, I've been a Raiders fan since I was so little I don't remember anything else. So I've been watching Raiders football for over 40 years of my life. It's
Mhm.
hard sometimes when guys like Pete Carroll come in because the message is always it's going to be different. We're going to create something. But I've lived through it's going to be different a bunch. In fact, I've talked to Max Crosby about the fact that he's played for a lot of coaches that have sat there and said it's going to be different. When you go to an organization that is constantly trying to reset, fans feel this here we go again. Do you guys as players feel any of that weight in the locker room of the past failures of an organization, which, to be fair, the Raiders have mostly had failures for the last 20 years?
Yeah, when when it comes to that type of stuff, actually I had a conversation with a couple teammates, this past training camp, and we sat at, breaking bread, sitting at the round table, right, and breakfast. And I just flat out told these guys, hey, look, I think this is the best assembled team from a chemistry standpoint that you could ever have. I've been around the league for some time. I've been on several different teams and organizations, being a part of organizations that have had, that shift, that change. And when you have a head coach, GM, John Spytek, you have Tom Brady implementing his strategies into the whole organization. And then obviously Mark Davis, being a standout guy, that just radiates within the locker room, and it just shows you that they're not just trying to build to just build, they're trying to build and win at the same time. And that was the conversation I had with Spytek too. Early on, I told him, hey, look, me coming into this tenfold is very attracting. But at the same time, I want to come in and I want to help win. I want to help, put some knowledge behind the running back position in general, but offense and in my experiences, and that was something that he, was sitting there. He was astonished by the fact that I wanted to come in, especially at the juncture of my career, right, going into year 11, but at the same time, just being able to be a tool for these guys and an asset for the team is very viable for me. And that's something I always want to do. But going back to your point, when you're trying to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, sometimes it gets overplayed. But when you have a philosophy like what they have is, hey, look, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna, rebuild, but also win at the same time. I've never really dealt with that before. I've never dealt with, hey, look, let's rebuild and let's win at the same time. That's a new technique, and I'm embracing it, and you could see it too, and you could feel it in the building. The 90 guys that we had in on the roster during training camp, that was probably the most comprehensive, most cohesiveness that I've witnessed in my 11 years in the NFL.
You bring up making an impact for this organization. You were inactive for the week one win over the Patriots. Obviously, you're a competitor. You want to be suited up. You want to be out there contributing to your team's win. So how do you balance your own personal frustration with not being able to be out there on the field with also still making an impact, a positive impact for your team when you can't be out there?
Yeah, that was kind of a different scenario than I anticipated, in the early on in this season, so far the start of the season. I had a great conversation with Pete the day before the game. We had a walkthrough over in the one of the high schools next to in New England. And then we went to go visit the stadium. Something new that I've never done in my career, visit the stadium prior to, but it was nice just to get that, reassuring conversation with Pete and him telling me, hey, look, man, like we're gonna need you. Don't worry about it. It was a numbers game and stuff like that, which I'm totally fine with. It like you said, it eats you up inside because I'm a competitor. At the end of the day, I want to go out there and I want to compete with my brothers. I want to, show the world that, I'm still Raheem. I'm still, the Mostert that can go out there and with speed and be physical and make plays. But sometimes you got to take a step back and create your own synergy from within. And that was something that I had to do, this past Sunday. But at the same time, I had to put my coaching hat on. I had to help, the running backs and getting the feel for the game and seeing it from a different lens, which was pretty unique and pretty cool to see in that perspective. But all in all, I'm just whenever they call my number, I'm always going to be ready. That's the best thing I could say and do right now.
Have you taken a chance yet to remind, Ashton, when you're in the room that, I don't know, you do have the second most rushing yards in any playoff game in NFL history? Come on. Like, I know Ashton.
Let him know.
But you let him know, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna let him know. I just want him to be level-headed right now in this juncture. He's a great guy. I have nothing but great things. He works his tail off. He does everything that he needs to do in the locker room, in the meeting rooms. And I've been there and just wanting to be a guidance for him, wanting to be, I told him early on, during training camp, I said, hey, look, man, there's gonna be a lot of pressure on you just because you're a sixth overall. That's a lot of praise for especially at our position, at the running back position. So let's not take that too lightly, but at the same time, that's not the objective. The objective here is to be the best version that you possibly can be, and I'm gonna help you get in that position. I'm gonna do everything that I possibly can to help you. And then you're also gonna teach me some things. I realize how small in stature he is, and he's center of gravity. He's we joke about it all the time, and it's pretty cool to see, man. I'm just trying to get my center of gravity a little bit lower too. I'm 5'11", so I gotta figure out how to use my abilities like how he does in that aspect. So we joke all the time, and it's pretty cool, man.
Was there a moment in camp where you saw something from him where you were like, yeah, this guy's got something special?
Yeah, it was a inside zone run out of the shotgun, and he I think it was like the third day we had pads, and he hit this hole, and the way he utilized his center of gravity, right? He maneuvered in a way that I haven't really seen, from how can you say, like, from behind the offense. And he found a hole, and it was just so impressive. I was like, wow, this guy does have it. He could definitely, he has an knack for finding the right reads and understanding the assignment. And he hits it with a full speed ahead, full juncture.
Seeing it in person I mean, I think it just adds that much more context to how explosive he really is. But just
Yeah.
hearing you talk, it is so clear how passionate you are about the running back position and being an advocate for the running back position. And, in your time in the league, the running back position has kind of gone through some peaks and valleys. It wasn't that long ago that a bunch of you hopped on a Zoom call to talk about demanding being paid what you are worth in this league. And then it felt like
hmm
last year was the year of the running back. Saquon with an MVP caliber season, Derrick Henry, and that perfect marriage with the Baltimore Ravens. So just how have you seen this position evolve throughout your time in the league?
Yeah, like you said, it's a lot of ups and downs, right? It's a lot of different peaks and moments that you're realizing, like, hey, the position is coming back, and then there's those moments where it's like, oh, here we're going down the slope, right? But all in all, man, just being able to be in a room, especially with a guy like Ashton that brings a lot, he's a unique type of back, and he's gonna explode. He's gonna have so much success, as long as he has a level head, which he does. He has a great mindset, and it just shows you the trajectory of the position, right? We have another running back, Jeremiah Love, who's going to be coming out. I have his running back coach, D-Mac. He was with him in Notre Dame last year, and he talks highly of him and how he's going to be, a first day pick. And watching his tape too alone is like, you see these guys that are transcending the position so well, and making these different attributes on the field, and they're just explosive. It's starting to become a new regime for this position, and it's pretty cool to see. I'm glad that it's going in the right direction. We're getting guys in the first round, and the position can only go up from there.
All right, Raheem, I'm 5'9.5". Thank you very much, and 165 pounds of pure power. All right, I'm working on my fitness
Yes.
here, okay? But I'll take any. I cut my body fat in half in the last year. I'm on a journey, dude, okay? So
Yeah.
I saw that you have invested in Throne Sport Coffee. I'm looking for any advantage I can get here. Tell me about it. Why do I need it? What makes it special? Give me the spiel.
Yeah, so Throne Sport Coffee, I invested in this coffee here, and man, I tell you what, the energy and the boost and all the extra stuff that goes into it, like the BCAAs, it's perfect for a guy like me, like yourself, right? That's trying to get right in the fitness world. But it's for those that are active, active people, that work out, that want to stay fit, and it gives you an extra little boost. And so I had the opportunity to join with them, and with Mike and those guys out there. And I met them during the Pat Mahomes golfing event down out here in Vegas, which was pretty cool. So got a chance to sit and talk with him and get his mindset about the whole concept. And I was hooked. He sent me some product, and then next thing you know, I became an investor. So we have a lot of different flavors. My favorite is the caramel. latte. You know, I love my caramel lattes. It's one of my favorites.
I went down the rabbit hole this morning looking at all of them. By the way, low in sugar too, guys. Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, as we get you out of here, Raheem, like my level of excitement. Look, I'm on one. My favorite team is 1-0. Your team is 1-0. And
Yes.
like, how excited? Like, scale of 1 to 10. Am I allowed to go to a full 10 for this team? Like, am I allowed to just go like cartwheels down the street, confetti parade, like making the playoffs? We're going all in on this thing.
You know what? As much as I want to be all in, I mean, I'm all in. I'm all in. Let's not mistake that. But I can't tell you that just yet, just because, you know, it's only week 2. You know, we got a tough opponent this upcoming week. We got a Monday night game against the Chargers. You know, we're really excited about the opportunity. What they did to the Chiefs in Brazil last week, you know, is definitely eye-catching. So we just got to hone in on our craft, and that's one thing that we're worried about is today, right? We're not worried about the future. We can't worry about the future. We can only worry about today. That's the message that Pete has instilled in us. You know, like, it's all about the moment, being in the moment, and that's today.
Man, the perfect answer by you. But you didn't walk me off the ledge. Full on. I'm coming in playoffs.
Mm-mm.
Okay, Raheem, thanks for the time, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us so much. Have a great season, man. Can't wait to watch you kick ass all year.
Yeah, thank you. I
Thanks so much,
appreciate you
Raheem.
guys. Y'all have a good one. Appreciate
You
y'all.
too.
Raheem Mostert hanging out with us on the show.